بسم الله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له الملك الحق المبين وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله سيد ولد آدم أجمعين صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه الطيبين الطاهرين على مر الأيام والليالي والشهور والسنين أما بعد. We were discussing the affairs from the signs or the warning signs of the day of resurrection. The time now is 9:26 p.m. Saturday, September the 4th, 2021, with the Gregorian calendar, which agrees with the correct calendar, which is the Islamic calendar, where it's now, was it the 27th or 28th of Muharram? 28th of Muharram. But technically Sunday, well, this is Yom al-Ahad, but technically where it is correct is Sunday night of Monday, the 28th of Muharram, the year 1443, after the migration of our Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. We were discussing this topic, of this great, magnificent topic about the signs of the hour. And it's warning signs. And the warning signs of that hour are plentiful. Plenty these days of what we can see and visualize, all of us, for all the different catastrophic affairs that have taken place and is still taking place. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, if someone could confirm it, there was an earthquake in Australia yesterday or the day before, was it? Was there an earthquake, if I'm not mistaken? Just to confirm it for someone for me, just confirm it. But the most important thing is that we see that there are, or that the alam, or the world has been flipped upside down in so many ways, everywhere. And we all know that this day was going to come where everyone globally will be affected. As those of knowledge seen this coming, and those from the students of knowledge, we also seen it coming. It's only a matter of time, and I said this even 3 or 4 years. The way I see things now, it's only a matter of time for something crazy happens. Because all the wickedness of people, and how evil they are, how wicked, and the inclinations are so wicked now. And just the people, of how they are, and the nature of the people has greatly changed for the worse. And even like I said this about 3 or 4 years ago, and I used to come outside at night and I used to say something crazy is about to happen. Because you just look at the people, and how wicked they are, how sinful they are, and how they don't care about it, and they brag. And bang, here it came. Last year, the whole world got flipped upside down. And it's still being flipped upside down. And there's other things that the people of knowledge and the students of knowledge that we see based upon not knowing these signs of the unseen or knowing the unseen, but based upon what's taking place around us. That something else is about to happen. If the people don't change and make a greater change and reevaluate their situation, and the people start living right, because these things have not affected us except because the people are not living right. People are not living right. Their affairs are not straight with their Lord, number one. And then their affairs are not straight with the creation of who they oppressed. So these affairs, if it keeps going the way it's going, it's only going to get worse. And I don't care where you will be in the world. Allah can test you even if you're in the North Pole. He'll test you. You can't escape the test of Allah no matter where you go. For verily, these are the signs that we were reflecting on. And these are the signs in which the Messenger of Allah said they will come. We mentioned last class or last lesson that these things that are taking place around us, they're warning signs. Warning for what, as I said last class or last night? So warning for what, everyone? So warning to get your life together. Get yourself together. Get your religion together. That's the reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made these signs. For those who reach them, not to say, oh wow, be amazed at it. No. When they come and you reach that time, it's incumbent upon you to reflect on yourself. What am I doing wrong? Because the message of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, even the people used to ask him the questions, Mata sa'a, when will the hour be? The message of Allah gave a key point here where he said, Ma adatta laha. What did you prepare for it? So the message of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave the key point. All these things and the times that you're reaching of adversity and difficulty and what's taking place around you, the first thing the message of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is to reflect on yourself. Look into yourself. Contemplate on what you're doing, that you are coming up short with your Lord. Examine those affairs and scrutinize them. Because if you scrutinize them, you realize a lot of the things where all of us are coming up short, so we can now rectify it immediately. So it's like we said, these affairs, what we see taking place is not just to be amazed. Like I said last night, none of the true Salafis who study, who have an ilm, none of us are surprised at what's taking place now. None of us are surprised. I'm not stunned by it at all. People say, subhanAllah, all this is going on. All you got to do is open social media. Look at how many people that brag about these sins openly, publicly, from the non-Muslims and the Muslims. And you ain't think that Allah is going to send something down upon us based upon those things that people do daily? It's repercussions to our actions, everyone. Don't think that you could do something and then publicly display it, outwardly boasting and bragging about you disobeying your Lord, and they think there's not going to be repercussions. That's how the life goes. Al-jazaa min jins al-amal. The repayment is due to the type of actions you put forth. And we know the worst type is the type that's publicly displayed. Because you're openly bragging, oh Allah, I'm doing things that make you angry, and I don't care. Okay. You don't care? I'm sure everyone in this room and in the dunya is caring now. So these are the affairs that we were speaking about. So we know to take an ibrah and an exhortation from these matters, such as to rectify ourselves and the warning signs that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us every single day. Those signs, like we said, we're not amazed. We've seen it coming, not based upon the unseen, but we've seen it coming based upon the wickedness of the people and which direction they were going in. You see it every day. How many people, like we said, do you see on a daily basis, you keep saying insanity, insane. God just drove his car and a wild man right by yours. Crazy, insane, lost their minds, gone. And then I hear some brothers say that they're going to react to that. You're not going to stop and try to shoot your gun at us, are you? So you're going to react with insanity, with more insanity? Just let them go. Go to the car on the side, let the insane man go. Don't you got children and families you have to take care of? And I come hard down on my brothers when they say this type of nonsense. So what you going to do when your daughter and your children are out here and you're in jail? What they going to do? You know brothers out here, and the reality is they're not going to support you while you're in jail. They're going to leave your family. And they're going to leave your kids. And they're going to want to marry your wife. Think smart, brothers. Size up your situation before you make an action that you're going to regret. These are the affairs we need to talk about and reflect on, brothers and sisters. Think before you act. Stop acting like a savage. You don't counter batil with batil, falsehood with falsehood, and evil with evil. That's not how you can counter it. You counter it by being smart. Think it with your mind, not think with your emotions. That's the first thing. A lot of people these days do wrong. Always thinking with their emotions. Wrong. They don't think with their minds. Think with their minds, which is accordance to the religion, of course. Thinking about the outcome and having burnt another. Being farsighted, what's going to be the repercussions or the outcome of this act that I will do or what I will say. These are the affairs we reflect. And this is the reason why we're in the predicament we're in the state that we're in. Because no one thinks. They just act. Then Allah sends down the repercussions. Then everyone is like, ooh, what happened? So what we mentioned, ya ma'ashar al-ikhwa, we are living in times where we're living in very, very serious times. We are in the most, if you want to say, the most dire need of really revamping and rectifying and reevaluating our affairs. If I can't explain it and put more emphasis on it than what we're mentioning now, then I'll know what will be. For we mentioned that what the Prophet ﷺ, he said and informed us and told us about these affairs of when the people of Sunnah, the people of truth will be small in number, and the people of wickedness will be more. They'll be in abundant, widespread. We know these narrations. Narration with the Prophet ﷺ he talked about, which is Tirmidhi. For we know the great narration on the authority of Anas ibn Malik. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يأتي على الناس زمان القابض على دينه كالقابض على الجمر. This narration which says will come a time upon the people where a person that's holding on to his religion is like holding on to hot coals. Holding on to his religion is like holding on to hot coals. From the great explanations of this narration, you'll find that the great Imam, Al-A'lam, Abdur Rahman ibn Nasir al-Sa'di, Rahimahullah. Now listen to this. He said exactly what we were mentioning last night. How the Messenger of Allah, alayhi salatu wasalam, you'll find that when he gave the warnings and said that there were going to be signs, whether they be affairs pertaining to the minor ones or the major ones, not only did he tell us that these affairs were going to happen, but he also gave us the solutions to what to do, which will equip yourself to be a means of survival. And when we say survival, not with your life, meaning with your religion first. Because a lot of people think it's life. No. It's about saving your religion and making that intact. That's the greatest form of salvation. There's no salvation greater than that one. It's saving your religion and saving your soul and your heart. That's greater than life. Because a lot of people lose that perspective. They lose that goal. It's protecting your religion. Your body, once you die, as long as your religion is intact, where are you going to go? Inshallah, you're going to paradise. So not the physical aspect. It's the affairs pertaining to the heart. And your affairs that's connected with the hereafter. That takes precedence over everything. No matter what it is. Because if those affairs are intact, then your life will be intact, inshallah. So you find the great Imam, he said that the Messenger of Allah gave us two affairs. Two matters. Number one is khabar, and the other one is irshad. He informed us of a matter, and then he gave us direction of how to deal with it. This is going to happen. This is how you deal with it. This is what you do. He says, Amma al-khabar, the great Imam, alayhi salatu wassalam, fi akhir al-zaman, يقل الخير وأسبابه ويكثر الشر وأسبابه وأنه عند ذلك يكون المتمسك بالدين من الناس أقل القليل وهذا القليل في حالة شدة ومشقة عظيمة كحالة القابض على الجمر من قوة المعارضين وكثرة الفتن المضلة فتن الشبهات والشكوك والإلحاد وفتن الشهوات وانصراف الخلق إلى الدنيا وانهماكهم فيها ظاهرا وباطنا وضعف الإيمان وشدة التفرد لقلة المعين والمساعد. He said, the Messenger of Allah said in the last days and times, he said that good will become minimal, will be minimized greatly. And its means, its doors, will start to become less. And shar will be in abundance, and its doors will be open. And that the person holding on to his religion, adhering to the truth, and being upright, and being upon what's correct in his belief, and in his creed, and in his actions, Because now, brothers and sisters, we know we live in times where a person, if he's righteous, you'll look at it as a weirdo. You're a weirdo. You don't like to fornicate. You don't like to be a lesbian. You don't like to be gay. You don't like to get lit. What's up with you? You lost your mind? That's how the Messenger of Allah said this was going to happen. And you see this. How many people that say they treat you like this when you want to do what's right? What's wrong with you? You'll find that he says, the mutamassik bid-deen min al-nas aqal al-qalil. Those who are clinging to the religion of the people are aqal al-qalil. They are the smallest amount of people now. When this qalil, or this minute group, he says, are in a severe state, in a great state of difficulty. He says, well, now it's as if the Messenger of Allah gave the example of the one who's holding on to something that's extremely hot. He said, due to the intensity of those who are opposing him, or opposing them, and the vast majority of those misleading trials and tribulations, whether it be the fitan or the trials and tribulations of doubt concerning your belief, and atheism and rejection of the truth, or it's the trials and tribulations of one's desires. And you'll find that the creation now are inclined towards this world. That's all they care about. The dunya. And we know the dunya, let's not lose the meaning of it linguistically in the Arabic language, everyone. Everyone knows that the word dunya is derived from the word dana'a, that a lot of people don't realize. Dana'a means something lowly, something that really has real low in value. You treat it as what? Like dead carcass. That's something you fulfill for your needs and then you keep it moving. But you find that people now are fighting and killing one another and jealous over something that which is Allah, with Allah ta'ala, that is low in value than a what? Than a janaha ba'udah. That is more or less in value than a wing of a mosquito. That's how the value of this pathetic world is with Allah ta'ala, that we so value so much that we're willing to kill ourselves over, be envious over, and even go to war over it. That the Messenger of Allah informed about how the people will compete in this dead carcass that Allah ta'ala gave the resemblance of this dunya and the authentic narrations of his Prophet ﷺ, that to the point, like we said, that the people will even lose their religion over it. And they're willing to do it over something that's as lowly with Allah as a wing of a mosquito, that the people are willing to go to the hellfire forever over it. That's what you see now. He said, for now, in siraf al-khalq ila dunya, that the people now be inclined towards this dunya, and they will be engrossed in it, openly and secretly. وضعف الإيمان وشدة التفرد لقلة المعين. They'll become weakness of faith and the severe or the difficulty of being alone sometimes. Tafarrud, being by yourself. And then you find little people to aid you and little people to help you. He then goes on to say, ولكن المتمسك بدينه القائم بدفع هذه المعارضات والعوائق التي لا يصمد لها إلا أهل البصيرة واليقين. He said the one who is holding on to his religion is the one that repels. He repels these oppositions, these obstacles, these hindrances. He said the one who can only stand firm in front of it is those who have true insight, meaning those who have knowledge, they have surety, they have strong iman, and they are from the best of the creation, and they are the most highest with Allah in degrees, and they are great with, and they are the greatest of them. They are the greatest of the creation with Allah in status. So that's what the Messenger of Allah informed. So then the hadith, this one narration, it also comprises of another affair, which is what is the solution, what's the directions and the instructions that we need in order to save ourselves. He says, وَأَمَّا الْإِرْشَادِ. He says, فَإِنَّهُ إِرْشَادٌ لِأُمَّتِهِ أن يوطنوا أنفسهم على هذه الحالة ويعرفوا أنه لا بد منها وأن من اقتحم هذه العقبات والصبر على دينه وإيمانه مع هذه المعارضات فإن له عند الله أعلى الدرجات وسيعينه مولاه على ما يحبه ويرضاه فإن المعونة على قدر المؤونة. Verily the Messenger of Allah gives directions to his ummah. He says to make yourself firm, tie yourself down hard, firm upon these great difficulties. He says, and know for sure these affairs, it had to happen. The Messenger of Allah informed us in his book, Allah Ta'ala informed us in his book, and his messenger informed us in his authentic sunnah. These times were going to come. He says, وَأَنَا مِنْ اقْتَحَمَ هَدِ الْعَقَبَاتِ وَالصَّبْرَ عَلَى الدِّينِ وَإِيمَانِهِ. For the one who's been afflicted and tested with these obstacles. And he stands firm upon his religion, his iman, despite of these oppositions. For verily he will have of Allah the highest of degrees. Allah will aid him. His Mawla will protect him. Upon what? Upon what Allah Ta'ala loves. And he is pleased with, he will keep him firm upon that. For verily the ma'una, the aid of Allah, only comes by those great times of difficulty, and that you stand firm and stand upright during those times. He says, how greater of a resemblance of our time in which the Messenger of Allah described that Islam will remain, nothing will come. It will come to a point where Islam, nothing will remain except its name. And that the Quran will not be left except that it's merely written. Because a lot of the people have abandoned it. And they have abandoned its proper guidance and what it contains. It's just recitation now, if they even do that. How the affairs now has become where it's just dust sitting on the shelf. And even if some of the people recite it, they're still not implementing what is in it. So nothing remains except what is written. Because of the what? Of the weakness of the affairs and how they become. And how the hearts have become so diverse. And all the leadership have left off the guidance in certain lands, of course. And all the different enmities and hatred have now come directed towards the people of the truth in so many ways. And how the people who are adversaries against the truth, they're open, they've declared their war, and they are coming together in order to remove this truth and distinguish its light from every part and every place on this dunya. Openly and secretly they're doing it. And they're even with their friends. And they're even they're lurking and they're everywhere in the darkness. Lurking and waiting and trying to anticipate the right time in order to mislead the people. The only thing that stands in their way in order to accomplish their objectives and their evil and their wickedness that they want to now unleash upon the people is the people of the Sunnah and the people of Tawheed that's standing in their way. They are working in secret and they're working openly in order to rid this dunya of the religion, really in the religion of Salafiyah. Not just Islam, but the correct understanding of the religion. Working day and night, putting out different types of ambiguities pertaining to i'tiqad, false beliefs, false convictions, and utilizing funding and money in order to what? To do it. And you'll find, like we said, the people are now being swept away in those violent currents of amwaju al-mutalatima, ash-shuyukh wa-shubban. In those violent currents in which you'll find that the elderly and the young are being swept away. For the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam, you'll find in so many narrations that he said of what will be the means of salvation. After all these different obstacles have been put in front of us, worldly with the non-Muslims, and from the people who's upon disbelief, and even from the Muslims who are upon inhiraf, deviation, who's also the aiders of the shaitan against the people of the truth in so many ways. The Messenger of Allah والسلام, gave us solutions. From them, he said, of course, is to learn your religion as far as pertaining to its foundations. Learn the core. Learn it, educate yourself in that. Do not just be Assalamu alaikum Muslim, kayfa haluk. No, it's unacceptable. The affairs pertaining to this world, ya ma'ashal ikhwa, especially what's pertaining to what will be a reason for your survival in this world and when you're put under the dirt and on the day of resurrection, depends on the core of the religion. So it's not just here in the dunya, it's in all the other stages that all of us will face inevitably. Under the dirt, you also will be what? Questioned about the core foundations. On the day of resurrection, similar to that, you will be questioned, you'll be examined and scrutinized, the core foundation of the religion. That's where it'll start, and that is applicable for all stages of life. That is the only way, or that's one of the ways that you'll be able to what? Save yourself. Is to desperately, immediately learn the core foundations. Have insight in it. Know of who your enemy is and what's their plots. What they will try to do and what they're utilizing day and night as tools and methods in order to take you away from this haqq, from this truth in which Allah Ta'ala sent down. These matters, as we said, ya ma'ashal ikhwa, this is what? It's from the ways in which the Messenger of Allah sallallahu has taught his ummah. After that, stick to the people of the truth. Stick to those ulama who it's known that they call into what is correct. And know that those who now put out those whispers about certain ulama and their secret gatherings and their secret accounts and their secret type of gatherings that they made in the phones now. All these different things, alhamdulillah, is a fadl by Allah. And I say, wallahi, these affairs have become a ni'mah. You know why? Because I now know who my enemy is very easily. Because these accounts and these phones all exposes all of our enemies easily. Because they can't keep their mouth shut. They're always running it. And they're always in these groups where it makes it easily accessible to know who my enemy is. So thank Allah for that ni'mah from that aspect. So when you run your mouth and you in that group, we know who you are. You've exposed yourself. So these are the type of solutions that we know that the Messenger of Allah has taught us. Know the core foundation of your religion. We talked about last night in regards to the Messenger of Allah said, in these difficult times, worship your Lord more. Don't just stick to the fara'id, to the obligatory salah, everyone. Do some more prayers after that. Do some more supererogatory prayers after you salam out. Take an extra 2 minutes to pray extra prayers. These are affairs that will aid you in your Lord, keeping you firm during these times. Sometimes turn your phone off and make dhikr of Allah. The dhikr of Allah is the greatest form of ways that you can protect yourself. Because I try to do it all the time now. Because I see so many shayateen around me every single day. Shayateen everywhere. You go out your house, you see it. You go out, even certain masajid, you go by, certain people say certain things, and you just looking at it as if you know what's going on. But you just don't entertain it because you know that these shayateen are just trying to waste your time. So you don't entertain it. And even the internet, they want you to say something, reply. I want you to reply to me. Acknowledge my existence, please. And you're like, no, I'm not. Waste of time. Because that's another affair that we'll speak about, because that's the topic of today also, is about time. And the Messenger of Allah talked about the signs of how it will start to move very quickly. Then, during another time or period we'll talk about, is when the Dajjal will come, and that's when the time will become long again. So those are the type of solutions, increasing your worship during these days. Do not just be comfortable with performing obligatory prayers and that's it, I'm done. Go the extra mile, extra 2 or 3 minutes, pray your voluntary prayers. These are the times where you have to do it in order to now seek help and assistance from your Lord to keep you firm. Make those supplications in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you aid upon yourself. To give you insight to realize that these computers are traps. To bring you in the plunge or destruction of a satanic trap that is set up by these methods. Ask Allah to give you aid upon yourself by these supplications. After that, Education is key. Coming to the Masjid, bring around the Muslims. Also these affairs, especially in this satanic land that we live in. Every individual that I see, and there's no exception to the rule, when you do not see them in the Salafi Masjid, you always find that they're doing something they should not be doing. There's no exception. Either they with the people of deviance now, or they involved in some type of sins. Doesn't go outside of those two. Either with the people of deviation, or they're doing some type of sins, or in the street doing something they should not be doing. And that's for every individual that makes themselves further away from the house of Allah. There's no exception to the rule. I've seen it since the 90s, all the way up to these days and times. There's no exception. So those are the matters in which the Messenger of Allah has said, the times will come where you'll have the reward of the Sahaba, of which is of Arba'een, 40 of them, especially from the Shuhada. For those narrations that clearly clarifies this matter in regards to what? The tremendous reward with those who remain firm in these days and times. So I wanted to inaugurate by saying this. There's a lot of moving around. I wanted to inaugurate by saying this. By saying that, brothers and sisters, these are the times where you have to now put forth these efforts. None of us is safe from the traps of shaitan. There's not an exception to none of us, even myself, even the speaker. Shaitan is haris. There's no one that shaitan is more diligent of trying to lead astray except the people who have some life left in them, who are the people of Tawheed and Sunnah. He's going to put forth his utmost effort in trying to take you away. And he will take you away from this path, and he will even try to destroy you, even in your community. So many traps have been set, and the people are falling into it day and night. So this is what I wanted to start off by giving an exhortation and reminder to my brothers and sisters. These are the days where we have to increase some more worship. These are the days where we have to now increase in more good deeds, more dua, more supplication, more diligence in aiding the house of Allah, more diligence in aiding our families, and being more patient with our children, and being more forbearing and overlooking of their mistakes and their shortcomings. Because I said this last night, the children and the generation that's growing up, when they come upon a time after we're gone, is going to be on a whole nother level, or whole nother level of shaitan that they're going to have to embark upon. And if they're not ready for it, they're destroyed. We'll also talk about the narrations where I said when the Messenger of Allah talked about the time span is getting shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. That's the hadith that I wanted to speak about. For the Messenger of Allah had talked about from the times of the hour, the signs of the hour, is that time will start to move very fast. He said in the narration, this one Anas ibn Malik, and it's also Abu Hurairah, where the Messenger of Allah said, "La taqum as-sa'a hatta yataqarab az-zaman." The hour will not be established until the time starts to move quickly. That a year will be like a month, and a month will be like a week, and a week will be like Jumu'ah, and a day will be like an hour, and an hour will be like the spark of a fire, or the spark of a torch. It says, كِحْتِرَاقَ السَّعَفَةِ أو الْخُوصَةِ أو كَالضِّرْمَةِ بِالنَّارِ. It's different narrations. It says, وَيَكُونَ الْيَوْمِ كَالسَّاعَةِ وَتَكُونَ السَّاعَةِ كَاحْتِرَاقِ السَّعَفَةِ أو الْخُوصَةِ أو كَالضِّرْمَةِ بِالنَّارِ. That the time will start to pass quickly to the point where an hour will be like the spark of a fire or the spark of a torch. The ulama, they differ in regards to what this narration, what it means. They bring a lot of different explanations. One of them is القول الأول. معناه تقارب أحوال أهل الزمان في قلة الدين ولا يكون فيهم من يأمر بمعروف ولا ينهى عن منكر لغلبة الفسق وظهور أهله أو في ترك طلب العلم خاصة والرضا بالجهل وذلك أن الناس لا يتساوون في العلم لأن درجة العلم تتفاوت وإنما يتساوون إذا كانوا جهالا. The first meaning of the hadith, This narration, everyone, I forgot to mention this. This narration was also collected by Imam Ahmad, Tirmidhi, Ibn Hibban, and other than them. And Ibn Kathir said that Isnad is upon Shart Muslim. The great Imam al-Albani also authenticated in his Sahih al-Jami'. So the first meaning of the hadith is that time will draw close, meaning close to one another by saying what, or what does it mean, or what is intended. He said the conditions of the people of the time where those who are upon what is correct will become minute. Fi qillat ad-din, meaning those who are holding firm to it will become very small in number, until there will be no one that will command the good and no one that will prohibit the evil. They'll say only God or Allah could judge me. That's from their statements. So no one will come as a result of it. No one will command the good. No one will prohibit the evil, due to the domination of evil and the manifestation of its people. Now listen to this part. Or the people abandoning seeking knowledge specifically, and them being content and happy with being ignorant. He said that is because people are not on the same level in knowledge. He said the level of knowledge is of different levels, different degrees. He said, however, people are equal if all of them are ignorant. إِنَّمَا يَتَسَاوُونَ إِذَا كَانُوا جُهَّالًا. They are most definitely equal when they are all ignorant. So taqarub al-azman, upon the first statement, meaning that the state of the people will start to change due to the less of those who are following what is correct. And all of them will become similar to one another as far as their corruption and as far as their evil pertaining to those who do not command the good or forbade the evil, and those who are dominant in that time are involved in fisk, involved in sin and transgression and a manifestation of his people. And they say the abandonment of seeking knowledge specifically, and people being content with being ignorant. And that's what you see today. Wallahi, you see that today. How many people do we see now have no respect for knowledge nor its people? They don't have any respect for those who went out and sought knowledge for years. Everyone's the know-it-all. Everyone I have now, the YouTube, and they have this. I've read a couple of books. I know just as much as you. Who are you to tell me? All these affairs now have become actualized and in front of our eyes. So that's one explanation of the hadith. Second explanation, now listen to this. والمراد بذلك هو ما يكون في زمن المهدي وعيسى بن مريم من استلذاذ الناس للعيش وتوفر الأمن وغلبة العدل. But that's the second one you'll find out Hafiz bin Hajar didn't agree with. He said the second one, and I'll just read it quickly, even though Al-Hafiz even said this is not the right one. He said what is intended by it of what will happen during the time of the Mahdi. And Isa ibn Maryam min istilzaz al-nas lil-aish. Because we know at the last days and times when Isa ibn Maryam returns and the Mahdi returns and they kill the Dajjal, after that there will be a period of time where there will be an abundance of security and justice will be established amongst the people, and that will be dominant, and the people will be in a state of raha, of enjoyment and delight. He says, in which you'll find that during those days, people will find that time of being lax, or not, I wouldn't say lax, but those times of enjoyment will be small, even though they're days that are long. But however, when those times are difficult, they seem long, even though it's what? Even though it's short. Even though Al-Hafidh ibn Hajar said that particular explanation of this is the least of those which is correct. The third statement he says, which is also you'll find it is ba'id, taqarub al-zaman istiwa al-layl wal-nahar, which a lot of the ulama said that was what? That's false. This is what I want everyone to now be attentive of this one. They say about this hadith of what is intended, how people's lifespan or their longevity will become short. How people will start dying off at young ages. And that's what we see today. How many people we see now dying at 17? They're not even reaching 20. They're not even reaching 30. They're not even reaching 50 anymore. They're dying in their 40s now, all of a sudden. And we know the other narrations where we said from the signs of the hour is Motul Faj'ah. That from the signs of the hour, people will start dying suddenly. Mawtul faj'ah. That's from the last days that people start to die suddenly. Just out of nowhere. Walking down the street, bang. Fall out, dead. This is also from the signs of the hour. He said from the statement of this hadith and what we're speaking about, مَعْنَاهُ قِصُرُ الْأَعْمَارِ, the short time span or the longevity of the people. Why? He said, وَقِلَّةُ الْبَرَكَةِ فِيهَا, that time will start to pass quickly because its blessing is removed. The blessing of the time is being taken away. فَتُقْصَرُ الْأَعْمَارِ بِالنِّسْبَةِ إِلَى كُلِّ طَبَقَةٍ فَالطَّبَقَةُ الْأَخِيرَةُ أَقْصَرُ أَعْمَارًا مِنَ الطَّبَقَةِ الَّتِي قَبْلَهَا. He said that the time frame, or for the people who are living at that particular time, the generation that's coming after them, in comparison to them, they're living shorter than those who came before them. So their time span or their life or their longevity is becoming shorter and shorter. And you see this today. And we know the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ where he said, in authentic narration, that the time span or the time frame or the longevity of my ummah is between where everyone? أعمار أمتي ما بين 60 إلى إيش؟ 40 و 50 و 60 60 إلى 70 وأقلهم من تجوز ذلك. That the age or the longevity for my ummah that they will live is from where? From 60 to 70. And a small amount of them will go past that. We see now that the people's time frame or their time span is what? Way shorter than that. People are dying now, like we said, in their teens, in their 20s, their 30s, their 40s. Dying very young. Why? Because the barakah of the time is being removed. Why? Because of the actions of the people and the wickedness. Because the wickedness is what makes the time what? The barakah of their life removed. The wickedness and the evil removes the barakah from your life, and it removes the barakah of the time that you spend in your life. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? How many people do we know that in a short time frame, in a couple of years, they might have progressed in an affair for a person that might have been 10 or 20 years, and it is as if they didn't even change the state of what they were in when they first started. Why? Because no tawfiq. Tawfiq removed. No barakah. Something went wrong. For those of the affairs, we need to reflect what they say. This is from the meaning of the hadith. Qisaru al-a'mar. How the time frame and the time span of the people will become shorter and due to the least amount of blessing and barakah that's in it. So that's another meaning of the hadith. Another meaning of the hadith, and they say that's also correct. Al-murad tasaru' ad-du'a ila al-inqida'. There's another meaning of what was mentioned, that they say how the du'a or the different lands, they will be quick to fall. Wal-qurun ila al-inqirad. He said how the centuries, meaning the different lands of the people, will start to now, they will start to fade away and vanish. And as a result of it, when the time draws close, meaning that their days are now becoming what? Numbered, where they're about to be what? Where they're about to perish. From those other things, and this is what you'll find at Imam An-Nawawi, and you'll find that also Al-Khattabi and other than them mention and say that this is what is apparent, is what we're going to mention now. Even though he said that other than them are also correct, but listen. القول الثامن المراد بالتقارب القصد المعنوي بحيث تقل البركة من الزمان ويصير الانتفاع باليوم كالانتفاع بالساعة في قلة البركة والشعور بسرعة الانقضاء. He said you'll find that the statement of the time will start to pass by quickly, meaning of what the people perceive, and it's going on, you see it around you. But there's another affair that people are not being aware of. He said, like we said, that we mentioned a couple of minutes ago, that the blessing is being removed from it. And that you'll find, if you look to the Sahaba in their time, how they would benefit from their days and be so productive and take advantage of every minute. And that time frame or that time span that they had and what they put forth in a day, he says, what we do not even do, even though our days are long, and even in that hour, due to the least amount of barakah that's in it, was being removed. He says it to the point where now people will start saying, I used to do this in this amount of time. Now, where did the time go? Now it's just moving very quickly, very fast. وَالشُّعُورُ بِسُرْعَةِ الْإِنْقِضَاءِ. How it's just moving very quickly. And you'll find that those people during those days, due to the barakah, the tawfiq Allah to put in their lives, they capitalized on their time. And what they used to do, there was a means for them from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, making it a way to seem as if their day was very beneficial and productive, in contrast to these days. So these are what you find that the ulama mentioned in regards to the time. And you'll find that it says, Al-Hafidh ibn Hajar, الذي تضمنه الحديث قد وجد في زماننا هذا فإنا نجد من سرعة مر الأيام ما لم تكن نجده في العصر الذي قبل عصرنا هذا وإن لم يكن هناك عيش مستلذ. He was disagreeing with the other statement I just mentioned. والحق أن المراد نزع البركة من كل شيء حتى من الزمان وذلك من علامات قرب الساعة. He said that this hadith that it contains of what we see and we find in our time. He's saying in his time, Hafid ibn Hajar, he said, فَإِنَّ نَجِدْ مِنْ سُرْعَةِ مَرِّ الْأَيَامِ. Verily we find how time has started to pass by so quickly. Of what we do not find in the time which was before us. He says, even if it's the time where the people will be relaxed. He's talking about that statement I said about Isa ibn Maryam and the Mahdi. So he didn't agree with that. وَلَمْ يَكُنْ هُنَاكَ عِيشٌ مُسْتَلَذٍ. He said, وَالْحَقِّ أَنَّ الْمُرَادِ نَزْعُ الْبَرَكَةِ. He said, the truth is what is intended is that the barakah will be removed from everything. نَزْعُ الْبَرَكَةِ from everything. He says, including the point until what will be removed is the barakah of time. The barakah and the blessing of time will be removed. He says, and that is the signs of that the hour is drawing extremely close. Another benefit you'll find that it adds on to what gives compliments to what Hafid ibn Hajar says. قال ابن أبي جمرة يحتمل أن يكون المراد بتقارب الزمان قصره على ما وقع في حديث. He's talking about the narration we just mentioned, or that we're explaining. فالقصر يحتمل أن يكون حسيا ويحتمل أن يكون معنويا. أما الحسي فلم يظهر بعد. That's his opinion, they said. ولعله من الأمور التي تكون قرب قيام الساعة. He said that it breaks down into two affairs. What is tangible and what is there but is intangible. And this is going along with even the Hafid al-Hajr he was mentioning. He said al-hissi of what's tangible, meaning we can see. He said there's going to be a period of time where it's going to be very extended, where it's going to go long, of course, and that's the narration we're going to talk about with the Dajjal. That's what we're going to speak about. Because there's going to be a time frame where the time is going to go from moving quickly to where it'll be extended again during the descent of the Dajjal. When you'll find that the message of Allah how the Dajjal will remain for 40. And those 40, we're going to talk about in a minute. We'll talk about that in a minute. He said, وَيَحْتَمَ أَن يَكُونْ مَعْنَوِيًا أما المعنوي فله مدة منذ ظهر. He says, as for what is there but we don't see it, what is he speaking about? He's talking about the barakah, the blessing of the time. He says, منذ ظهر, since it manifests. He said, يعرف ذلك أهل العلم الديني, those who are upon the religion, who have insight and have true knowledge, see this, they witness this, they can testify to this. من أهل السبب الدنيوي فإنهم يجدون أنفسهم لا يقدر أحدهم على أن يبلغ من العمل قدر ما كانوا يعملونه قبل ذلك ويشكون ذلك ولا يدرون العلة فيه ولعل ذلك بسبب ما وقع من ضعف الإيمان لظهور الأمور المخالفة للشرع من عدة أوجه وأشد من ذلك الأقوات ففيها من الحرام المحض ومن الشبه ما لا يخفى حتى إن كثيرا من الناس لا يتوقف في شيء ومهما قدر على تحصيل شيء هجم عليه ولا يبالي والواقع أن البركة في الزمان وفي الرزق وفي النبت إنما يكون من طريق قوة الإيمان واتباع الأمر واجتناب النهي. He said, for verily now, he says that the people of religion, they see this and they can testify to this. And even people who are ahl sabab al-dunyawi, even people who are world in their affairs or pertaining to taking care of their worldly affairs. He said, you'll find that they even say that we find within ourselves that none of us are able to do or reach an act. He says, on which that you'll find that people preceded before us was able to do before this. And they complain about it. And they don't know what is the cause of this. Why is it that I could do this more and now I can't do it now? It seems like the time just vanished in the one day. He said, وَلَعَلَّ ذَلِكَ, maybe perhaps. He said the reason for that is due to the what? The weakness of people's faith and conviction. And how the opposition appears or opposition against the religion has now become manifest from so many ways. وَأَشَدُّ مِنْ ذَلِكَ الْأَقْوَاتِ. And he said, from verily what is more severe than that is what is pertaining to people's sustenance, of where people now are eating what is haram and they don't care. And what is of doubtful matters of what is not hidden from the people. For verily now we live in times, he's saying, he's speaking about this years ago. Now you'll find that the majority of people now, they don't hesitate for anything. لا يتوقف في شيء. مهما قدر على تحصيل شيء هجم عليه. No matter how much time or when they're able to do or attain something, they're immediately going to get it. They don't care how they get it, in what way they get it, how they attained it. I don't care as long as I get it. The waqi', as he says, al-barakah fi zaman wa fi rizq wa fi nabt. He said the reality is that blessing in time, and in provisions, and in harvest for Allah to bring forth His barakah in the lands and in the earth and in the provisions. He said it's only by way of people having strong iman and following the sunnah, following the guidance, and staying away from His prohibitions. He said, and what confirms that is the ayah that Allah Ta'ala says in Surah Al-A'raf, ayah number 96, if the people of the village would have believed and they would have had piety and feared Allah, we would have opened for them the blessings of the heavens and the earth. You'll find an Imam al-Nawawi al-Qadi Iyad, they said about this statement, this is what is أظهر وأكثر فائدة وأوفق لبقية الأحاديث. He said that this is the strongest opinion. All of these affairs you'll find by what we just mentioned, you see right in front of us. You see the time is flying. Even right now, seems like it just started. Time is flying. So if you want to sum up by saying that the meaning of the hadith is what, everyone? من نزع البركة من الزمان. The removal of blessing from time is being removed. The quality of the people is getting weak. Not the numbers, the quality of the people. As I've heard this statement before, the Dow is growing, the numbers are growing. The numbers are growing. But what about the value and the quality of the people? That's a whole nother subject. The Dow is growing, alhamdulillah, in numbers. But we want quality people. People who have finished books. People who have finished Usul al-Thalatha. People who have finished Kitab al-Tawheed. People who have finished these types of books of Aqidah. People who have finished these books is developing the quality of the people. We're just building quantity. That's it. The majority of the Muslims now, all they brag about is how big their masjid is and how decorated it is. They're worried about the what? The facade aspect of it, not the what? Not worried about the aspect of the what, everyone? The quality of the people. Anybody can have money. Anybody can have dunya. Allah Ta'ala has opened it up for so many people these days. We see it every day. Even certain people I see every day that I thought would never have it, they have now businesses. It's easy out here. If you put your mind and devotion to it, you can get it. However, the quality and pertaining to the religion of the people is a whole other ballgame. That's the big question mark that everybody has to question. Those affairs is what we're focusing on. That's what's important. What's important to me is that we get these children, start finishing these books. Getting into these children's minds. What's going on? Is anything going on in your house that's messing up your mind? Because what's the point of learning usul al-thalatha and learning kitab al-tawheed if they have in their minds a time bomb that's about to go off because they're being abused in their homes? So a person can have knowledge, but in the back of their mind, if they have a time bomb that could be just ticking, and it only takes is what? A split thing, something that happened to make it blow up, what's the point? And how did they get those time bombs in their head? Because they don't have stable homes. They don't have a stable home. They don't have any parents with sense to raise them and teach them and be patient with them and teach them how to be productive people in society. Building monsters, and like we said, the point of that is to make sure that they're psychologically and mentally stable in their homes. That's the key before learning Kitab al-Tawheed, Thalathatul Usul. We want to get into the minds of these people and these children and listen to them. Because if they can't come to the masjid and they're just either high, what's the point? What you really think they're going to be absorbing the information? If they're high off of weed, or if they're mad at their mom because their mom just got finished screaming and hollering and cursing at them, and they come in and they're running around, they're not focused. Their mind is somewhere else. So the affair starts with the stability of their home, of their parents making a stable affair in their house. Then after that, we'll be able to now pave the way for their success by teaching them these books. Then we finish these books, everyone. Then you'll see the progress of developing what? True, valuable, productive, value-having people, not just numbers. Because I don't like to brag about numbers when there's a bunch of ignorant people and there's a bunch of sinners running around. That's nothing to brag about. Bragging about how people just have a thoborn but they're sinners is not nothing to brag about. It's a form of disgrace. Disgracing with our Lord. And then the non-Muslims see it and we're disgracing ourselves by making a public mockery in front of the non-Muslims. These are the affairs we need to focus on. And this is what I want everyone to realize. These narrations of what the Messenger of Allah sallallahu, what came as a result of it, except this narration where it says, removing the barakah from time. You're not able to take advantage of your time in a manner which is beneficial for yourself. And you see it, and I see it from the time where I was seeking knowledge up to this very moment, how it's becoming weaker and weaker and weaker, and the diligence is becoming lower and lower and lower to the end of it. So that is the strongest of statements, or the strongest opinion about that. So if you want to sum it up, نزع البركة من وقد ظهرت مبادئ وهو في ازدياد. Removing the barakah from time is the reason why the time has become very what? Very fast. The last thing we want to speak about is in regards to when it will change. Because tomorrow, inshallah, we'll talk about some of the positive aspects instead of just the negative ones. Because not only do we mention what is evil, we will also want to mention some of the affairs that are good about the signs of the hour. There are some good things, which we'll talk about. Because certain people say there are good things. Yes, there are. There are certain good things, even though the evil might seem like it's more. But we also want to give the incentive to instill that optimism to the people by mentioning the good. And which we'll do, inshallah. So now let's talk about the affairs of the Dajjal. And when time will now start to become longer. So those are the affairs that now I wanted to speak about. How time will now start to become long. How when the Messenger of Allah ﷺ had informed us that when the Dajjal, when he appears, of course, because now the stage is, like we said, is being set for that reality to happen. That's where everything is turning towards right now, as we speak. So the Dajjal, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had spoke about how the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam spoke about the Dajjal and when he comes, when he descends, or when he's released. I'm sorry. When he is released, what is the amount of time that he will remain amongst the people? We know that from his followers, there will be people, and you'll find for Ahl al-Ilm saying it's people of Kufr. The majority, of course, from them will be Jews and people of disbelief and hypocrites, as we know. There will also be people from his followers. There'll be women. Women will be from his followers because they will be easily tempted by him, by his decorated speech. Another thing I want everyone to be attentive of, you'll find that they say from the followers of the Dajjal is the people of innovation. A lot of people don't know that. The people of innovation. They say from the Khawarij. The Khawarij and the people of innovation from those who also resemble the hypocrites such as the Rawafid, the Shia, the Rawafid, and even some of them go to the extent of saying those who belad the Qadr, those who rejected the divine decree of Allah. They still from the people of Bid'ah. So those who the followers of the Dajjal are from all of these people. Brothers and sisters, those who stand firm in these days that you see of those who are standing firm, and if they reach that time, inshallah, they will be those that more than likely, inshallah, will also be firm during that time. What reflects on what's going on today reflects what more than likely will be the reality, inshallah, tomorrow. Yes, it will. Those who steadfast in these days, and the only people that will survive the temptation of the Dajjal are the people of Sunnah, the people of Tawheed, the people of true knowledge and insight of Kitab and Sunnah, especially in those days when they come and when the knowledge is said, because there's a narration where it's said in authentic Sunnah, if you pay attention, which is in Sahih Muslim, where the Dajjal, also in Sunnah Abi Dawud, that the Dajjal will come, do you not believe in me? There's a narration, if you look at it, it says he will split him in two. Then he will now revive him. Put his body back together, revive him. And say, boom, stand. So he said, you don't believe in me now? He said, I have not increased except in insight of you. You are the what? The Dajjal that the Messenger of Allah ﷺ had informed us about. You'll find for the benefit of that particular narration that they say that the meaning of that particular hadith, everyone, that benefit that's extracted from that is to let you know, number one, that the only way that you'll be able to survive the Dajjal is from knowledge. Because he said it clearly in the hadith. You are the one that the Messenger of Allah informed us about. Did he see the Messenger of Allah? So where did he get it from? He learned it. He learned it from a narration. Or narrations. Was to let you know that he what? He had ilm. So while he defended himself was what? Number one, through what? Knowledge. He was also a person that was firm upon Tawheed. Why? Because the Dajjal will come and it said he will claim deity of worship. Say, I'm your Lord. He's an individual that's also firm upon Tawheed. He was also a person that was firm upon Sunnah. Because he said, it's what? You are the individual that what? I heard it from the Messenger of Allah. Not directly, but as far as where? In the narrations. It's a person of Sunnah. It's a person of Sunnah. So, the Messenger of Allah also said in the last part of the narration, he said that the Dajjal, of course, will kill him. He would be killed. Right? When he's killed, the Messenger of Allah described him as attaining the highest form of martyrdom of that day. Why? Why, everyone? Number one, no one can attain the highest form of martyrdom except one who has strong aqidah, strong in the Sunnah, strong in knowledge. that individual is the one who will survive the Antichrist when he descends. He's the one that will be able to be the one standing and left, even though the majority of people will be misled. So those who will be victorious in these days and times, and those days and times, is those people who have these qualities right here. That's it. No one else will survive. Those who have insight and knowledge, Aqidah, Sunnah, Tawheed, they're the ones who will survive, and they're the ones that's going to also falsify the falsehood of the Dajjal. They're the ones that will be doing it, and from them is that man who will attain the highest form of martyrdom, in which the Messenger of Allah claimed that individual will have. Why? Because of him having all these traits. Is it clear, everyone? Play. So we know from the affairs of the Dajjal that his followers will be from who? From the people of Kufr, from the Jews, from the hypocrites, from the women, and don't lose track of this, the deviant sects from the Muslims who are upon deviation will also be from his followers. From them is the Khawarij, as we said. The Khawarij, the Rawafid, and the Shia, because we know that the Rawafid, their whole religion is based upon nifaq. Their whole religion is a foundation of hypocrisy. Their religion is built upon it. Their belief is built upon hypocrisy. Let's get back to now when we sit for 40 days. So the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam said that he will remain with amongst yourselves 40 days. So what's that have to do with the time? Listen to this. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, يكون لكن اليوم كم سنة أو كم يوم واحد كسنة ويوم كشهر ويوم كجمعة وسائر أيامه كأيامكم. As it says in the hadith, when the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam said, when the Dajjal comes, he remain amongst you 40 days, in which a day will be like, what did it say in the narration, everyone? Like a year. So it says a day will be like a year. One day will be like a year. Then the Messenger of Allah said that a day will be like a what? 1 month. It's a long time for a day. Then the day will be like a what? Like a week. And the rest of the days will be like the rest of the regular days. So the Messenger of Allah informed us how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will allow the time, and that Allah can make the time in the manner in which He wants to tabarak wa ta'ala. Allah tabarak wa ta'ala can make the time as if it's moving swiftly. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can also make the time long. And Allah tabarak wa ta'ala also can stop the time. What is the delay for that? Anyone know? Quickly. From who? Yusha. Who? Dhun Nun. What happened with Yusha? Prophet Yusha Dhun Nun. Who's the sahib of who? Musa. Alayhi salatu wasalam. In which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned him generally in the Quran in Surah Al-Kahf, but didn't mention his name. Because Allah ta'ala, instead of Yusha, He called him Fatahu. So it says Surah Al-Kahf. Called him Fatahu. Anyway, Yusha Dhun Nun, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as it says in the narration, that Allah did not stop the time. Except for Yusha Dhun Nun. Allah stopped the time. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can stop the time. Allah ta'ala can make the time move what? Very fast. And Allah ta'ala can also what? Make the time very long. Also from those affairs that we know on the day of resurrection. Similar to that. How the day of resurrection, with one, oh, you found it? With one on the day of resurrection, where people will be standing long. But they say that it will be in a manner with the believers, and to them, something short. Because you'll find ayat and ahadith that said about 1,000 years, and you'll find an ayat of Allah Ta'ala says, that is as if they only remain a part of the day. Sa'a min al-nahar. It's as if they didn't remain as a portion of the day. And the person would say, why does it say this? Why does it say 1,000? Then when it says as if they didn't what? Remain just a part of a day or a moment of a day. Those narrations, you'll find that they bring them together and say for the kuffar, for their humiliation, disgrace will be made for them very long. It's a form of disgrace and humiliation for them. And for the believers, it will be made as if they had not remained in a small amount of time, as it will be a form of relief for them. So these are the affairs in which you can find where the times are being what? How Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can do what He wants. And what we perceive as a reality, but to someone else, it could be something else going on. To us it's short, but to them is what? Very long. And that's due to what one does as far as the benefit and capitalization of his time. And using it for good, and if for evil, it could be something else. For those of the affairs, you'll find that the Dajjal, when it comes to the point where we know that the Sahaba had asked the Messenger of Allah, this day that will be like a year of Messenger of Allah, will it suffice us for a salat for one day? So it shows that the Sahaba had great fiqh and understanding. This day that would be very long, extended. What do we do in regards to our prayers now? That's the narration where it said, where the Messenger of Allah had mentioned by saying to them, he said, "Uqduru lahu qadara." He said, measure its distance, or expand its distance, meaning, you'll find that Ahl Ilm, that they say in regards to the fiqh of this hadith, the affairs pertaining to days or lands that you're in, where you do not have a day. This is to let you know how complete our religion is. Those Muslims that are in areas, that live in areas, that don't have a day and don't have a night, what do? So you'll find that they mention the saying that the closest land to them, the neighboring land, that has what is considered a day, that they have to go by that land in regards to their prayers. What that they have of a day. Because we know in certain seasons, in certain areas, they don't have one at all. They don't have a night at all. Or their night might be about an hour or a half an hour. Or they might not have a night at all. So what do? They don't have a night. That's to let you know how complete our religion is. You'll find the great Imam Abdul Aziz bin Baaz, that he said, based upon this hadith, is to let you know how an individual will pray their prayers, and in regards to their fasting also. It's based upon the hadith of the Dajjal. Look to the neighboring land of what is considered a day. Based upon that, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told the Sahaba to do the exact same thing. Look to the measure and the distance. Those prayers in which you'll find, if it's done, it has to be done in that particular time in this order, then do so. Based upon what we extracted from this narration. So it says you'll find that he will come in the land and he will spread a lot of corruption. And he will come upon every land except you. He will now pass over it, spreading all types of different corruption, in which I'm sure that some of our other brothers have mentioned. But the point of what I wanted to mention, because I wanted to stop here, is about the time. How it could come from being fast. And I wanted to talk about the story of Yusha, but that's another time for another lecture for another time. And also you'll find Allah Ta'ala will now extend the time. And allow the time to be long during the days of the Dajjal. How it'll be very long, and then it will start to get a little bit shorter and a little bit shorter, where one day will be like a year, then one day will be like a month, and then one day will be like a week, to the end of the narrations where it mentions. Is it clear, everyone? So those are the affairs I wanted to speak about in regards to the signs of the hour, about the time. That it's incumbent upon us to take advantage of it. Because that is the most important thing that everyone needs to capitalize on. And that a lot of us are losing out and we're wasting. And you'll find a poet that he says in his poetry, وَالْوَقْتِ أَنْفَسَ مَا عُنِيتَ بِحِفْظِهِ وَأُرَاهُ أَسْهَلَ مَا عَلَيْكِ يَضِيعُ. That is the most valuable thing you're supposed to take care of. And I see it that the most quickest thing that you waste, that you easily waste. We waste it day and night, and we waste it on nonsense and people that bring ourselves with nonsense. Somebody just brought me some nonsense an hour ago, said something about something that happened in some masjid, and I said, okay, I have something to do. I really don't, some other the masjid did such and such. I said, let me go, I gotta go, inshallah. I said what I said. People know my position. Abdur Razaaq does not have to repeat it anymore. People know my position. People know what I said. My position with so-and-so is clear. They know it. I don't have to keep speaking about it. It's a waste of time. And I hope my brothers and sisters stop wasting their time on these affairs. Anybody that talks bad about Sheikh Rabi', your dawah will fall. Allahu A'lam, Allah will humiliate you. Ka'in and man kan. You talk about the awliya of Allah Ta'ala and at the head of them, of the ulama, Allah humiliates you. It's done. How many people that keep talking bad about Sheikh Al-Albani after his death? Allah just continues to humiliate these people. How many people that talk bad about Sheikh Uthaymeen, except you'll find that Allah continues to humiliate these people? Sheikh bin Baaz, and even if they're still alive, don't talk about the ulama. Khalas, you can talk bad about me all day, who cares? You talk about our fathers, khalas, it's a done deal. And then you just see the dawah just start to fade and fade and fade and fade. Done. So those affairs, every brothers and sisters, stay firm upon what we mentioned. Take care of your time. Time moving fast is from the signs of the hour. Take advantage of it. These days that we have, we only 1 day left. It just seemed like this daughter I was anticipating it a month ago, and now it's already here. This is almost over. Look to the time when you were a teenager and now how you are now. I look to my time when I was just 17. I can't believe the age I am now. I'm like, where did the time go? But it's not about us getting older, but it's getting stronger as you get older. And that you mature and you learn from your mistakes and you start to now capitalize upon wisdom that you gained because of those mistakes. And if you didn't learn from your mistakes and then gain wisdom from your experiences, then you have more growing up to do even though you're older. Probably we'll stop here, inshallah. That's enough.
But I didn't catch all of it.
It's still, alhamdulillah, we have it recorded. I'm going to go right now. We're at 6 of them. Anything else, anyone? Tafadal. Abdul Halim. Anything else, anyone? Tafadal, ya Nadir.
The Christians were not mentioned in the list of those people who followed the Dajjal. Are there any wisdom behind those just not mentioned in Hadith?
You mean wisdom as far as those who will follow him?
Like, you said Jews.
You see, the people of Kufr, not just the Jews, all the people of Kufr, all the people of disbelief, and the Yahud, and the Yahud, they're included in that, because they're people of Kufr. All the people of Kufr will be subjected to following the Dajjal. The only people that will survive are the people of Tawheed and Sunnah. That's it. There's no one else that will survive. And just like similar to today, who's the only people that will survive? That's it. People of Tawheed and Sunnah are the only people that will survive these days. And the people that are making dhikr. Because I tell Wallahi, brothers and sisters, I make dhikr so much now these days. And when I'm driving, because I see so many shayateen out here. You see it that shaitan is just making people lose their minds out here. It's scary. Even when I'm driving in my car, you say, whoa, he's crazy, nuts. Don't care about nobody's life. Don't care about nobody's kids. He don't care who's in the way. Get out my way or be hurt. Or get out my way or be killed. That's how you see the people's mentality out here. Get out my way or be hurt or killed. There is no third option. And I'll kill you first and maybe I'll ask questions later. Maybe. That's how people have become out here. They don't care about life. The shayateen. So when we say now, people have to now make dhikr. Capitalize on making dhikr a lot these days. And like we said, it's a fadl because the Prophet ﷺ said that type of affair is worship. And what did we say yesterday? That worship, he said, al-ibadah fil haraj kal-hijratu ilayh. Worship during the time of haraj, well, haraj here in this context means fitan, during times of evil and corruption, it's like making hijrah to me. And that's part of worship, making a lot of dhikr, all of that. So the more you draw closer these days, your fadl will be, or your value, or your virtue will be increased. Your love will be increased. Now, fadl.
The he's going to come out of the era around Afghanistan or something like that?
The Mahdi, no, absolutely.
That's going over there.
No, I don't think anyone's going to go over there as far as I know.
There's a lot going on over there.
There's a whole lot going on. But don't believe everything that the news puts out. That's all I'm going to say. Anything else? Tafadhal Haydar.
Any specific dhikr that we should make, or all in general?
We saw the narrations of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, Allahumma a'udhu bika min mudillat al-fitan. Ma dhahara minha wa ma batan. We mentioned that yesterday. Oh Allah, I seek refuge in you from those trials and tribulations that will be misguiding, or that will misguide me. It was open and secret from it. Na'udhu bika min mudillat al-fitan. Those narrations, those type of supplications, so many, I can't even begin. There's a lot of them. But those are from the narrations that will protect you from fitna. But all the narrations, all the supplications generally protect you from fitna in some type of way. Whether it be fitna of yourself, fitna of being a coward, fitna of depression, fitna, all these things are fitna upon human beings. It'll mess you up. Depression, sadness, grief, stinginess, miserliness, being a coward, all these things will mess you up. It will hinder you in being a productive human being. Prophet ﷺ, how many narrations? اللهم إني أعوذ بك من الهم والحزن والعجز والكسل والبخل والجبن والضلع الدين وغلبة الرجال. Another narration says, اللهم إني أعوذ بك من الهم والحزن والعجز والكسل. Well, no. I was talking about the one that's in the Nasa'i. والهرم والقسوة والغفلة والعيلة والذلة والمسكنة. وأعوذ بك من الفقر والكفر والفسوق والشقاق والنفاق والرياء والسمعة. وأعوذ بك من الصمم والبكم والجنون والجذام والبرص وسيء الإسقاط. Those are also ones like that. Those type of narratives, seek refuge in Allah from all of that. All those supplications, use them all. Allahumma a'idna ala Rabbana. I could go all night about these supplications, but that's some of them. Anything else?
I'll say my question for later, inshallah.
I'll tell you. Anything else, brothers? It's getting late. لا بأس نسهر على العلم. طيب إن شاء الله. We'll stop here. صلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.